What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel here. Guys, this video is gonna be a super fun one. This is one that I have had in the back of my mind for quite a while. I really enjoy this technique here, and I'm super glad I can share it with y'all. As you know, I love throwing finesse tactics, whether it's like a Nico rig or a free rig, or especially a drop shot. And we're gonna be talking about the two styles of drop shots that really kind of clash a little bit. There's some people that like Texas rigging a plastic, and there's other people that like nose hooking a plastic in a weedless manner. So we're gonna talk to you about some of my favorite hacks for fishing the drop shot, and also the main differences between Texas rigging versus nose hooking with different hooks on a drop shot. So let's go ahead and hop into it, guys. Before we get into that, guys, head over to our social media, Instagram and Facebook at Lake Pro Tackle. We really appreciate it. If you keep up with the story there in the post, you're gonna be able to find out when the newest stuff comes in as soon as it gets in the door, and definitely scoop them up before people on YouTube here. So just a little hint there, guys, and let's go ahead and hop into this video. All right, y'all, so we're gonna hop into this. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my favorite drop shot setup that I run 100% of the time, all times of the year. It literally doesn't matter when it is, what time it is, all seasons, I have it on my deck and I have it in my hand. And that is going to be, starting off with the hook, it's going to be a GP Finesse hook by Spear Point. It's gonna be size 3. You can see how tiny it is right there. It is like itty bitty bitty, but I have so much confidence in this hook. I have caught so many fish over 8-9 pounds on this hook here. I've boat flipped 4 or 5 pounders, so literally no issue. On one hook I've probably caught near 100 fish with it, no issues. And that is my hook of choice. Typically going to be running 6 to 10 pound fluorocarbon, a Braze X or Tatsu, gold label even, if I want to get bougie with it, to a 10 pound braided main line, and that is going to be Seagar Smackdown. And that's just my kind of go-to setup for the hook, sinker, and line. Now with the rod and reel, we'll get into that a little bit later, and let's go ahead and hop into the other hook that I have here. And this is just gonna be a simple Texas rig hook. So we're gonna be talking about the differences between Texas rigging with either that style hook in EWG, or this style here, which is gonna be like a cover shot, or nose hooking, which I really love nose hooking with the small finesse hook because I feel like my hookup ratio is better. I can still get it through very, very dense cover, and it's with a little technique that I feel like a lot of people aren't utilizing when they hear the word nose hook. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into just the standard Texas rig. Now, you know, standard Texas rigging is very simple. You're gonna put your hook in the tip of the bait there, pop it out, swing it around, and you're gonna hook it through the back of the bait. Now, one of the biggest issues I have with Texas rigging on a drop shot is that you minimize vastly the amount of action your bait will have. So I wasn't gonna pull robo worms out for this, but I just have this simple finesse worm here. You can see that bait there in this first section, this first 1.5 to 2 inches, this hook is minimizing the amount of action it has on the bait. Now, of course, you don't have to throw baits like robo worms or trick worms or stuff like that, but when I am throwing a drop shot, most of the time, I would say 98% of the time, I'm throwing a robo worm of some sort, a small finesse worm, small skinny finesse worm on it. So if you are drop shotting other stuff, this might not apply to you, but when it comes down to fishing robo worm style, like a Kitech Easy Shaker, or something similar to that, like even a flat worm or something, this is going to be my go-to technique. So the Texas rig is, you can see it minimizes a lot of that action. And when you pay for a robo worm, you're getting an open pore worm that has tons of action, very natural action, and I want to definitely take as much advantage of that as possible. So this guy right here, you can see it is minimizing the action of this worm. So that is the first thing that comes to mind when I do Texas rig. I want to make sure I'm throwing a bait that does have, or doesn't need to have, a lot of action imparted on it for it to have a good action for the fish to see. Next up is going to be this one here. So again, my go-to hook for finesse tactics is going to be that GP Finesse number 3. And imagine this is a robo worm here. What I'm gonna be doing, or actually let's back up a little bit. What most people think of when people say nose hooking is that you're taking your hook, you're gonna put it into the worm all the way through, just like so, where you see that hook point is actually exposed out of the worm. Now this, for a lot of reasons, is not how I would do it. First off the bat, you know, when you do have soft plastics, they can get a little bit heavier. And when you do nose hook like that, you're puncturing an area all the way through that worm. And what happens is, when you do throw your bait out, let's say on a drop shot, you do have a heavier worm. This worm is gonna spiral out of control. It can whirlwind and it can pop off the hook just like that very, very easily. So you can fix that by either putting your hook farther back, but what happens then is your plastic gets in the way of the hook point, and you will lose a lot of bites, you'll lose a lot of fish because you won't get a hook into that fish. So when you think nose hook, or if I ever refer to nose hooking in another video, this is how I nose hook, guys. This is my favorite way to do it. I have literally caught so many fish on this technique here. So all I'm gonna be doing when I say nose hook is I'm taking my plastic here, I'm going to lay it almost flat on the hook point, and I'm going to go back about 1/2 inch, depending on how long the shank is on the hook point. I'm going to go back, put it in about halfway through the bait, and I'm going to let it sit horizontally in that worm there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that hook point is sitting right behind the tip of this plastic. So as soon as I set that hook, it is coming out the front, my worm's gonna slide down, and that hook point is going to be in that fish's mouth. So that is my favorite way to nose hook. It is gonna allow your worm to have a full amount of action on it, especially robo worms, easy shakers, small drop shot worms like that, flatworms even, you're gonna have the full range of motion, and it's gonna allow the bait to sit horizontally as well, which is another key factor when it comes to drop shotting. You want your bait to be presented very flat, very horizontal, just like this. And when you traditionally nose hook, guys, or what people think nose hooking is all about, you can see this bait for a little bit might stay straight, might stay horizontal, but you can see when you throw it out there, it's gonna go down, it's gonna sit like this. You don't want it to sit vertical, you need it to sit horizontal on the hook. Now, spear point hooks does help a little bit. They do have the V in there, and it helps hold your plastic up just a little bit, but eventually it will slide down vertically. So, nose hooking, guys, put it in just like. So when it comes to nose hooking, guys, all you have to do, take your worm or whatever you're using, angle it down a little bit, and then put your hook basically just straight flat into that worm, just like so. It's gonna allow your bait to sit very horizontal in the water, and you're gonna catch a ton more fish. So one of the biggest things, guys, when it comes to Texas rigging versus nose hooking, one of the biggest arguments is that, is this weedless? Well, heck yes, it's weedless. You're covering that hook point all the way. It's basically texposing your worm on a Texas rig, and I can bring this technique, I can bring that little nose hook through the densest cover. I have made some really nasty brush piles all over Lake Lewisville, and I fish a bunch of other people's brush piles, and I can bring it through the nastiest of stuff. So, I mean, I can put a 1/2, like a 1/2 ounce weight in the middle of a brush pile with this nose hook, and I can work it out. And whatever happens too, also in a brush pile, let me show you what happens when you are fishing a brush pile here. So let me nose hook this bait. So if you are in a brush pile, guys, what's gonna happen is this bait's gonna sit pretty horizontal, but let's say my hand is a limb. As you bring it up and near that limb, that plastic is just gonna get out of the way. Since your hook is protected, you're gonna feel it, And with this, it'll do the same thing, just a little bit different. You're gonna get less action out of it. Your weight's gonna come off, it's gonna go to the backside. You're gonna do it again, and it is very weedless. So both these techniques, guys, if you wanna fish weedless through brush piles with the drop shot, these are both great options. I feel like my hookup ratio is a whole lot better with a small finesse hook just like this with the GP finesse, as opposed to Texas rigging with something like this or a cover shot hook like this. I know a lot of pros out there, specifically to name a few, like Brandon Polinick likes those Redline Nico hooks. Jacob Wheeler absolutely loves those Redline Nico hooks, but I do know a ton of pros out there, especially your smallmouth centered anglers, your northern anglers are using small finesse hooks just like that. So whatever it comes down to, whichever you prefer, fish your style. I'm not telling you one way is better than the other. I'm just trying to show you my way of how I like to drop shot. That is weedless, very carefree, very easy to do. And I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys, because this is one topic that I have spent a lot of my time doing. The majority of my fishing is either finesse like this, or it is with a big bait in my hand, like a big shad glide bait or something like that. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. If you did enjoy it, please give it a share, leave a like on the video. We really appreciate it, and we will catch you next time at Lake Pro Tackle. Thanks for watching, guys.